The fluorescent lights above the conference room smeared into white rivers as my vision tunneled and my legs suddenly stopped listening to me. 1 second, I was standing at the head of the table, laser pointer in hand, walking the executive team through Q3 projections. The next, I was on my back, staring up at the ceiling tiles while voices ricocheted around the room like they were coming from underwater. Someone shouted my name. "Call 911! Get her legs up!" My body felt distant, heavy, like it belonged to someone else. I tried to say, "I'm fine. I just need water," but my tongue might as well have been made of sand. My chest tightened, my heart pounded irregularly, and a roaring sound filled my ears. The ride in the ambulance was a blur of cold air, plastic, and beeping. A paramedic shone a light in my eyes and asked questions I couldn't seem to answer. "What's your name? Do you know where you are? Have you eaten today?" I remembered coffee, just coffee. Maybe a granola bar 2 days ago. Maybe. At St. Vincent Medical Center, they hooked me up to monitors, wrapped a blood pressure cuff around my arm, slid an IV into a vein that burned. Machines beeped steadily, telling everyone I was still alive while my mind floated somewhere between exhaustion and panic. A doctor with soft brown eyes and streaks of gray in her bun appeared beside my bed. "I'm Dr. Priya Shah," she said gently. "Elena, you're okay. You're in the hospital. We're running labs, but your blood pressure is dangerously low. You're severely dehydrated, and your cortisol levels are through the roof. When was the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" I opened my mouth, closed it. I genuinely could not remember. She sighed, squeezing my hand. "Your body didn't just give out. It's been begging you to stop for a long time. I heard the words severe exhaustion and stress-induced collapse, and you're not going back to work this week. They didn't sound like my life. I was the one who held everything together. Our deadlines at the firm, our mortgage, my husband's latest business idea, family dinners my mother insisted on, held everything together." "Don't worry," Dr. Shaw added. "We've called your emergency contacts. Your husband is on his way." My chest loosened in relief at that sentence. Good. Marcus would come. He'd sit right here, take my hand, crack a joke about me scaring the executives half to death. He'd tell me I worked too hard, kiss my forehead, promise to make dinner when I got home. 7 years of marriage. Of course he'd come. The clock on the wall ticked loudly as afternoon slid into evening. Nurses floated in and out, checking my vitals, adjusting the IV pump, asking if I needed anything. I watched the sky outside my window burn orange, then soften to purple, then fade into black. The plastic visitor's chair beside my bed remained empty. "He's probably stuck in traffic," I told myself. There had to be an accident. Maybe his phone died. Maybe he'd gone home to grab me clothes and got caught up with something. Any story was better than thinking the unthinkable. By the time they brought me a tray with something they claimed was soup, my phone still sat silent on the bedside table. No missed calls, no frantic messages. No. "Oh my God, are you okay? I'm on my way." I swallowed the metallic-tasting broth like obligation and stared at the door, willing it to open. It never did. On the second morning, my coworker Jordan Daniels slipped into the room balancing a bouquet of sunflowers in a paper bag that smelled like actual food. "Hey, boss," he said softly, trying for a joke. "HR says we're not allowed to let you die. You signed too many contracts." I tried to smile, and somehow it came out realer than anything I'd managed since I woke up. He dragged the chair closer, sitting where my husband was supposed to be. "You look like hell, by the way," Jordan added, in a very dignified, almost dead, executive kind of way. "Thanks," I rasped. He pulled out a sandwich. "Turkey on wheat, minimal guilt, maximum comfort. Don't tell the nurse I smuggled this in. She'll tackle me." As he talked about office gossip, about how the CFO had nearly fainted when I dropped in the middle of the presentation, he was careful not to ask the obvious question. "Where's Marcus?" The absence sat between us like a third person. After he left, the room felt bigger, quieter, emptier. My phone was at 4%, but habit made me pick it up. Maybe Marcus had texted and I missed it. Maybe something urgent had happened. Maybe... I opened my social media app. The first post at the top of my feed stopped my heart. My younger sister, Lila, had uploaded a photo 6 hours earlier. She sat at a polished wooden table in a restaurant I recognized instantly. La Forchetta, the cozy Italian place Marcus always insisted was too pricey for random nights out. Lila's head was thrown back, eyes squeezed shut in laughter. Her arm was looped around Marcus's shoulders. On the other side of him, my mother, Veronica, sat smiling wide, holding up a glass of red wine toward the camera. Behind them, I could see the familiar brick wall, the twinkle lights, the framed black and white photographs. The caption read, "Family Day. So peaceful when it's just us." For a second, the beeping of my heart monitor slowed. Then it sped up, erratic and sharp, like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. I zoomed in. Marcus's hand rested on the back of Lila's chair. Their bodies leaned into each other with an ease I couldn't unsee. The nurses had told me they'd called my husband. They'd called my sister. They'd called my mother. None of them came. They went to lunch instead, to our restaurant, to celebrate how peaceful it felt without me. I scrolled through the comments. "You guys look so happy. Love this little trio." Sonnetul. "Best family combo, no drama." Lila had replied to someone with 3 heart emojis and a laughing face. My phone died right there in my hand. The screen went black, taking with it the last illusions I had about where I stood in my own family. The machine beside me continued to beep in a steady rhythm, testifying to the fact that I was, technically, still alive. Inside, something fundamental had gone very, very still. The version of me who would have made excuses. Maybe their phones didn't ring. Maybe they didn't understand how serious it was. Maybe I'm overreacting. That woman slipped quietly out of existence. In her place, something else rose. Not hysteria, not even heartbreak. Clarity. When the night nurse, a tall, soft-spoken man with a badge that read Noah K., came in to check my blood pressure, he paused. "You're quiet tonight," he said. "Quieter than usual." "I'm thinking," I replied, my voice almost calm. "About what?" "About who actually shows up when it matters." He studied me for a moment like he'd seen this look before. "Let me guess," he said gently. "No visitors from your contact list?" "Just a coworker," I answered. "Everyone else had better plans." Noah's jaw flexed slightly. "I'm sorry," he said. "People surprise you in the worst ways in this job." He finished taking my vitals, then hesitated at the door. "For what it's worth, he added, sometimes being abandoned is the beginning of never letting the wrong people near you again." I stared at the ceiling long after he left, tracing the tiny holes in each tile with my eyes, row after row, pattern after pattern. Somewhere between counting and not caring, I made a quiet promise to myself. If I survived this, I wouldn't spend one more year, a single month, building my life around people who wouldn't even sit in a plastic hospital chair for me. By the 3rd day, I could walk to the bathroom without the world tilting. Small victory. I brushed my teeth slowly, staring at my reflection. Pale skin, dark circles, eyes that looked older. Dr. Shah came in after morning rounds. "Good news," she said, flipping through my chart. "Your levels are stabilizing. You can probably be discharged tomorrow, on one condition." "What condition?" "You actually take care of yourself. Sleep, food, less stress." "Sure," I said automatically. She lowered the clipboard. "I'm serious, Elena. Your life is not worth whatever you're killing yourself for out there." Out there. It struck me that I wasn't even sure what out there meant anymore. Home? That word suddenly felt like something belonging to someone else. The discharge papers were heavier than they should have been. "Sign here, here, and here," the nurse instructed, pointing with a manicured nail. "Follow up with Dr. Shah in 2 weeks. Don't drive if you feel dizzy. Don't skip meals. Do not go back to 80-hour weeks." As if it were that simple. I dressed in the clothes Jordan had brought me, a soft sweatshirt and stretchy jeans that felt like they belonged to a different person. As I laced my shoes, my phone, now fully charged, vibrated to life with a series of frantic buzzes. 79 missed calls. Most were from a number labeled Dolly Mother-in-Law, some from Marcus, others from Lila and Mom. There were dozens of texts. "Dolly, call me ASAP. Family emergency. You're being dramatic, Elena. We need you." Marcus, "Where are you? Why are you ignoring everyone? This is childish." Lila, "Stop ghosting Mom. She's stressed. You're always making things about you. My mother. Your sister is very upset. Fix this. Don't embarrass us. Not one message said, are you okay? We heard you were in the hospital. We're worried. How are you feeling? Not one. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone warm in my palm, and felt a laugh bubble up. Sharp, humorless. We need you. They needed my paycheck, my emotional labor, my habit of smoothing everything over, translating chaos into order, but not enough to sit beside my hospital bed for a single hour. I opened the message thread with Marcus and hovered over the keyboard. A dozen responses flashed through my mind. How's La Frechetta? Was the wine good? Did you two have fun without me? I typed, deleted, typed, deleted. Finally, I put the phone down. I blocked every single number except Jordan's and my office landline. Silence fell over my notifications like snow. Noah walked in just then with a rolling stool. Discharge taxi is here, he said, then looked closer at my face. You okay? I think, I answered slowly. For the first time in a long time, I actually might be. He smiled a little. That's the strangest thing I've heard anyone say while leaving a hospital. They usually say what? I'm fine, even when they're clearly not. I'm done pretending I'm fine. He nodded once, like he understood that more than he let on. Outside, the air felt too bright, too loud. The hospital entrance rotated behind me as I stepped out of a life I no longer wanted to hold together. The rideshare driver attempted small talk. Long day. Long year, and I replied. Home address is correct? He asked. I stared at the screen. Home. I swallowed. Yes, I said, because while the word didn't feel right anymore, the logistics still did. The house Marcus and I shared sat on a quiet, tree-lined street on the east side of the city. A two-story with white trim, a blue door, and hydrangeas I never had time to tend, even though I was the one who insisted on buying them. My name alone was on the deed. My bonus had paid the down payment. My credit had qualified for the mortgage while Marcus's consultancy found its feet. As we pulled up, I noticed immediately that his car was gone. Relief washed over me. I wasn't ready to see him, not yet, maybe not ever. Inside, everything looked normal. The living room was tidy, the gray sofa perfectly smooth, throw pillows arranged just so. The kitchen counters gleamed. A faint citrus scent hung over everything. For a second, I wondered if I'd imagined all of it. The photo, the caption, the months of unease I'd chalked up to overwork. Then I saw the wine glasses, two of them on the coffee table, one with lipstick on the rim, a deep berry shade that wasn't mine, Lila's favorite color. My breath stuttered. I moved through the house slowly, like walking through someone else's crime scene. On the staircase, a single gold hoop earring rested on the step. In the bedroom, the bed was made, but not with my usual neat corners. The throw blanket lay hastily folded at the foot. The pillows were indented on both sides, as if two people had slept there not long ago. The closet delivered the final blow. Mixed between Marcus's button-down shirts and my work blouses, several of Lila's outfits hung casually on velvet hangers. The short emerald dress she'd worn to brunch a month ago. A pair of ripped jeans with rhinestones on the back pockets. I sank to the carpeted floor, my back against the wall, and stared. No tears came, just a cold, quiet certainty that if I stayed here, if I continued being the woman who swallowed this, smoothed this, fixed this, I would die. Maybe not physically, not today, but piece by piece, year by year, until there was nothing left of me but a shell that made dinner for holidays and signed checks. An old memory surfaced, Marcus complaining about his tablet when he upgraded last winter. Battery's crap, he'd said. I should just toss this thing. But he hadn't. Marcus never threw electronics away. He hoarded them, just in case. I pulled myself up and went to his nightstand. Under tangled charging cables and old receipts, I found it. On the dusty black tablet. I plugged it into the wall and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting, listening to the faint buzz of electricity filling a dead thing with just enough life to talk. When it finally blinked on, there was no password screen. Of course not. Marcus always said, I trust you, no secrets. It had never occurred to him that one day I might not feel the same. I opened his messages. The thread with Lila stretched back 8 months. 8 months of flirtation that turned into declarations that turned into logistics. Lila. She stayed late again. She never notices anything beyond her laptop. Marcus. It's perfect. She's always exhausted. We have so much time. Lila. When are you going to tell her? This double life is starting to feel messy. Marcus. After the Phoenix contract closes. Once the money hits, I can afford to leave. She'll be fine. She always lands on her feet. My thumb trembled as I scrolled. Photos at wineries, selfies in cafes, a shot of Marcus's hand on Lila's thigh in the front seat of his car. Comments about me peppered between their plans. Lila. My big sister always thought she was the smart one. Marcus. You're the one I want. You always were. They discuss selling our house. Marcus. We'll get good equity. Real estate market is crazy. Lila. And then we can finally have a place that feels like ours. Not hers. They laughed, digitally in emojis, about how clueless I was, about how busy, about how invisible to my own life. They were going to wait until after his big deal closed next month. The deal I'd stayed late for, the one I'd run projections for, prepared decks for, talked him through. My collapse had interfered with their timeline. It took hours to scroll through everything. I made myself read every word, look at every photo, not to torture myself, but to see clearly. No more excuses. No more maybe. Just truth in brutal, pixelated form. When the sun finally dipped low and shadows stretched long across the bedroom floor, I stood up. I didn't pack like someone planning to leave for a few days. I packed like someone walking out of a life and not coming back. From the file box in the office, I took my birth certificate, passport, social security card, and every bank document that had my name on it. From the tiny safe in the closet floor, I lifted my grandmother's jewelry box, heavy with the gold and small diamonds she'd left me. The only real inheritance I'd ever had. Books I loved, not the ones Marcus pretended to read to impress guests, but the dog-eared novels that got me through college. Clothes that felt like me instead of wife of an entrepreneur. My work laptop, my own personal one, my external hard drive. I filled 3 suitcases. Everything else, every plate he'd picked, every rug my mother had insisted on, every photo that now felt like a lie, I left where it was. The key made a tiny metallic sound as I slid it through the mail slot on the way out. I didn't know exactly where I was going. I just knew I was done living in a house where my presence had become optional background noise. The hotel I chose set off the highway, the kind of extended stay place designed for traveling nurses and people between chapters of their lives. Neutral carpet, beige walls, a tiny kitchenette, no memories. Checking in for how long? The receptionist asked. A month, I said, surprising myself with the decisiveness in my voice. Alone in room 214, I finally let myself fall apart. Not for Marcus, not for Lila, not for the marriage that apparently had been over long before anyone decided to tell me. I cried for the years I'd spent proving my worth to people who saw me as convenient infrastructure. For the girl who believed family meant something other than obligation and quiet cruelty. For the woman who'd collapsed on a conference room floor before she allowed herself to admit she was drowning. When the sobs finally subsided, a different feeling settled in. Resolve. I washed my face, sat at the little table by the window, opened my laptop and typed into the search bar. Best divorce attorney in Crestview City. One name appeared over and over. Alicia Grant. Family law. Fierce. Precise. Uncompromising. Perfect. 2 days later, I walked into a glass-walled office downtown that smelled like expensive coffee and fresh paper. Alicia stood to greet me, tall in her early 50s, hair cut in a sleek bob, suit impossibly sharp. Elena Price? She asked. Yes. Sit. Tell me everything. Don't spare any details. I've heard worse. So I did. I slid the tablet across the table, showed her the messages, the photos, explained our finances, how my salary supported everything, placed our prenuptial agreement on the desk, signed reluctantly by Marcus years ago at my insistence. There was a clause buried on page 5 that made Alicia's lips curve into a small, predatory smile. Infidelity, she murmured. And you have proof. Oh, this is tidy. How long will it take? I asked. We file now, she said, already scribbling notes. With this prenup and what you brought me, he walks away with nothing you don't explicitly allow. The house is yours, the car is yours. Any money you put into his business can be classified as a loan. Divorce finalized in 4 to 6 months. Faster if he's smart and doesn't fight. He won't be smart, but he'll still lose. Some part of me wanted to say, I don't want to destroy him. But another part, louder now, answered first. He destroyed this. I'm just refusing to fall with it. Do it, I said. One more thing, Alicia added, meeting my eyes. Block them. All of them. Husband, sister, mother, mother-in-law, mother. Any communication from this point on goes through me. Don't try to explain. Don't engage. They've had years to behave like family. They chose otherwise. I nodded. Already done. Later that night, in my beige hotel room, I sat with a brand new journal on my lap. Alicia had told me to find a therapist. Google had led me to Dr. Maya Rivera, who in our first session had said, "Write, not for anyone else, for you." On the first page, I wrote in shaky but determined handwriting, "Today, I stopped begging people to love me and started learning how to love myself." Then I kept writing until the sky turned black and my hand ached. The rhythm of my days shifted. Morning, emails from Alicia with legal updates, documents to review, instructions on what to ignore. Midday, remote work from the small desk in my hotel room. My boss, Denise, had been shocked at the news of my hospitalization and borderline furious at my plan to jump right back in. "You should be on medical leave," she insisted over the phone. "You fainted in front of the board, Elena." "I collapsed," I corrected quietly. "And I need something stable right now. Work is stable." She sighed, but eventually compromised. "Half days, admin tasks and strategy revisions only. No late-night calls. If I hear from anyone that you're answering emails at midnight, I'm revoking your access myself." I almost smiled. Deal. Afternoon. Therapy. Dr. Rivera's office sat on the 11th floor of an older building with creaky elevators and mismatched chairs that somehow made the space feel warm instead of cheap. "You're grieving," she told me in our third session. "Not just the marriage, but the idea of your family, the story you told yourself about who they were and who you were to them." "It feels stupid," I confessed, "like I should have known. All the late nights, the weird tension, the way my mother always angled conversations so Lila was the hero and I was useful." "Trusting people you love isn't stupid," she replied, "but staying once you know the truth would be." Her words sat with me like a gentle, firm hand between my shoulder blades, steadying me each time a wave of doubt rolled in. In the evenings, I wrote, sometimes rage poured out, pages of sentences that started with, "I am so angry that," sometimes sadness curled up on the paper, small but sharp. Sometimes, to my surprise, hope showed up. Jordan visited once a week, smuggling in real food and terrible jokes. "HR is already planning the welcome back from your nervous breakdown party," he said one day, dropping onto the chair. "I did not have a nervous breakdown," I objected. "You passed out, went to the hospital, and then filed for divorce. If that's not a rebrand, I don't know what is." We laughed, and the sound felt good. One afternoon, as I was annotating a marketing deck, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "This is Elena," I answered cautiously. "Ms. Price, this is Officer Hernandez from the Crestview PD. Are you somewhere safe right now?" The question made my stomach drop. "Yes," I said slowly. "I'm at my hotel." "Why?" "We received a disturbance call at your former residence. A man named Marcus Hale was on the property yelling, attempting to enter with no key. The neighbor mentioned you left suddenly and looked distressed last she saw you. We found Mr. Hale shouting about being locked out of his own house and demanding to know where you were." My skin prickled. "Is he still there?" "No, ma'am," the officer replied. "We explained the house deed is in your name. When he wouldn't calm down, we suggested he contact his attorney. He left, but we wanted you to be aware." "Thank you," I breathed. After we hung up, I stared at the wall for a long time. Marcus was spiraling. Alicia confirmed it in our next call. He's furious, she said, sounding almost bored. His lawyer is trying to argue your investment in his consultancy was a gift and that he deserves half the house and spousal support because you out-earn him. It's smoke. The prenup is airtight, and the evidence of his affair makes his arguments even weaker. Do we have to negotiate? I asked. We have to let him try, she replied. Then we let the judge do what the judge is clearly going to do. Fine, I said. I don't want to talk to him. Ever again. You won't, she assured me. That's what you have me for. Step by step, the legal machinery turned. In the meantime, my life, surprisingly, started to grow new branches. When my 30 days at the hotel were nearly up, I signed a lease on a small apartment downtown. 10th floor, big windows, scuffed hardwood floors, a view of the river if I leaned out at just the right angle. The landlord, a woman with paint on her jeans and kind eyes, slid the contract across the table and said, "Your credit is excellent. Income checks out. Welcome home, Elena." Welcome home. This time the word didn't feel wrong. Jordan insisted on helping me move. Noah, yes, Nurse Noah from the hospital, came too. He'd started grabbing coffee with me once a week after his shifts ended, our friendship an unexpected byproduct of vitals checks and late-night conversations. "You've got good taste in views," he said, carrying a box labeled kitchen into the empty space. "It's the cheapest unit on the floor," I answered. "Apparently, most people want a dishwasher." "You have a sink and 2 hands," he said. "You'll live." We ordered pizza, spread it out on a blanket in the middle of the empty living room, and ate while the city lights winked on outside. "This place feels clear," Noah remarked, lying back and staring at the ceiling. "Like you shook off something heavy before you walked in." "I did," I said quietly. "I left an entire life behind." "Good," he replied. "It wasn't worthy of you." My throat tightened. After they left, I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with a mug of tea and whispered, "This is mine," just to hear how it sounded. I decorated slowly, frame prints of places I wanted to visit, Lisbon, Kyoto, Cape Town, went up on the walls. My grandmother's dishes finally came out of their boxes and into the cupboards. I bought plants and, to my shock, didn't kill them within a week. Denise called me into her office a month later. "You've been operating at 90% from a hotel room and then from a half-unpacked apartment," she said. "That's impressive and also concerning." "I'm fine," I started, then caught myself. "I'm healing, but I like working. It helps." "It shows," she replied, sliding a folder toward me. "The board loved your revision on the Garrison proposal. You've been carrying senior-level workloads for 2 years without the title or the pay. That ends now." I opened the folder. Promotion, Senior Strategy Director. Salary, significantly higher. "Are you serious?" I asked, looking up. "As a cardiac arrest," she deadpanned. "Take the weekend to think about it. But I hope you say yes. You've more than earned it." For the first time, advancement didn't feel like another weight. It felt like a foundation. A few days later, Jordan dragged me to his friend's book club. "It's not lame, I promise," he insisted as we climbed the stairs to a cozy second-floor studio. "It's wine, snacks, and women who are way cooler than either of us." Inside, a circle of chairs, thrifted rugs, and the smell of baked brie greeted us. "This is my boss," Jordan announced. "She's terrifyingly competent, recently single, and needs more female friends." "Wow," I muttered. Strong introduction. The group laughed. A woman with silver box braids and a soft, rounded face crossed the room and stuck out her hand. "I'm Tasha," she said. "Artist, host, occasional chaos gremlin. Sit. We're discussing a book about starting over after your life explodes." "How on brand," I murmured, taking a seat. By the end of the night, I'd been added to a group chat titled Soft Chaos Book Coven, been invited to a gallery opening, and promised to help another member, Priyanka, refine her pitch deck for a nonprofit. Walking home under the city's patchwork of streetlights, I realized something quietly miraculous. I had friends. Not colleagues I grabbed drinks with out of convenience. Not relatives who saw me as an ATM. People who liked me for me. People who had no access to my past mistakes and no stake in my pretending things were fine. Dr. Rivera called it a chosen family. "You're not replacing your biological family," she explained. "You're expanding your definition of one." Blood is not the only adhesive that binds people together. Feels more stable than blood, I admitted, because it's based on mutual care, not obligation. In the middle of all this rebuilding, Alicia called with a warning. Your mother-in-law contacted our office, she said. She tried to convince my receptionist to talk some sense into you. She used words like ungrateful and disloyal and implied you owed their family your income. I don't owe them anything, I said. Correct. However, if this escalates, we may need to involve the court. It escalated. 2 weeks later, building security called my desk. Ms. Price, the guard said, there's a woman in the lobby insisting she's your mother-in-law, demanding to be let upstairs. She's making a scene. I hurried to the security control room, where a bank of monitors showed Dolly in the lobby, hair frizzed, eyes wild, jabbing her finger toward the elevators. She's ruining us, I could hear through the slightly tinny speakers. My son is losing everything because of her. She owes us. When security gently tried to escort her out, she shoved one of them and knocked a potted plant to the ground. The front desk receptionist reached for the phone to call the police. Janet, our COO, came to stand beside me. Friend of yours? She asked dryly. Mother-in-law, soon to be formally ex, I said. Do we need to get you somewhere safe? I'm fine, I answered, but I think I need a restraining order. Alicia had the forms ready within hours. We filed not only against Dolly, but also against Marcus, Lila, and my mother. Isn't that extreme? I asked, pen hovering over the signature line. What's extreme, Alicia replied, is collapsing from stress, being abandoned in the hospital, and then having those same people harass you when you decline to keep sacrificing yourself. You're not being vindictive. You're setting boundaries with legal teeth. Chortwanti. The judge granted temporary restraining orders on the spot, later converting them to one-year protection orders after reviewing the messages, the social media, and the incident at my workplace. No contact, Alicia summarized. No calls, no texts, no showing up. If they do, call the police. The papers were served. For the first time in my adult life, I felt something close to safety, which is exactly when the past tried to walk back into my life through the front door of my favorite coffee shop. It was a rainy Saturday, the kind of rain that wasn't dramatic, just persistent, soft, steady, a gray curtain over the city. I sat at my usual corner table at Harbor Brew, laptop open, notes for a new client spread out beside my latte. This ritual had become my anchor. Saturday mornings, just me, caffeine, and the quiet buzz of strangers minding their own business. The bell over the door jingled. I didn't look up at first, not until the air around my table shifted, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Elena. His voice said my name the way someone might say the word oxygen after being deprived of it. I looked up. Marcus stood 2 feet from my table. He looked thinner, somehow smaller than the man I remembered. His once perfect haircut had grown out unevenly, eyes ringed by dark circles. Lila stood slightly behind him, clutching her purse strap. Her makeup was smudged, hair pulled back into a hastily tied bun. She looked older, not in years, but in the way bad decisions carve lines into a person's face. The whole coffee shop went quiet. Behind the counter, the barista, Dee, reached for the phone beneath the register. She'd been the one to witness me break down here the week I moved into my new apartment. She'd also seen me rise week after week, laptop open, shoulders a little straighter each time. You're violating a restraining order, I said calmly, closing my laptop. We know, Marcus said quickly. Just hear us out. 5 minutes, please. No, I replied. Lila stepped forward, eyes glossy. Ellie, please. We just need to talk to you. We're desperate. The old nickname hit the floor between us like a broken glass. Once, it had been sweet, a sister's shorthand. Now it sounded like a stranger trying on clothes that no longer fit. I stood so I could look them in the eyes without craning my neck. I don't owe you 5 minutes, I said, my voice steady enough to surprise even me. I don't owe you conversation. I don't owe you closure. I owe you nothing. Around us, chairs creaked as people shifted, watching. Marcus took a half step closer and stopped only when I lifted my hand. Don't, I warned. If you take one more step, I call the police, and they'll arrest you right here in front of everyone. Is that what you want? He demanded, hurt flaring into anger. To see me hauled off in cuffs? After everything we had? What you and I had, I said slowly, ended the moment you chose to take my sister to our restaurant while I lay alone in a hospital bed. That's not fair, Lila blurted. You always make everything sound so dramatic. We didn't know how serious it was. You posted so peaceful when it's just us under a photo of the three of you having wine while I was hooked up to machines? I interrupted. You knew enough. Color drained from her face. Marcus's jaw clenched. We made mistakes, he said. We know that. We're sorry. No, I replied. You're not. They blinked. You're not sorry for what you did, I clarified. You're sorry that you lost. You're sorry your affair became inconvenient. You're sorry the prenup held. You're sorry the investor backed out of your deal when he heard about the divorce. You're sorry you're broke, living with your mother again, and that I'm fine. Lila's mouth fell open. How do you... People talk, I said. This city is smaller than you think. Marcus's shoulders slumped. We need help, he said finally. Just a little loan to get us back on our feet. You've always been the responsible one. You can afford it. Something inside me, something old and codependent, might once have leaned forward at that. Might have thought, they're still your family. They're struggling. You can fix this. That part of me was gone. I did help, I said. For years. I helped you build a business you used as a prop. I helped Lila through school, paid her rent when she couldn't find work. I paid for holidays, birthdays, every emergency that magically became my responsibility. And when I collapsed under the weight of it all, you two chose pasta and wine over a plastic chair at my bedside. Lila's eyes filled with tears. I was scared, she whispered. Mom said you were exaggerating. She said it was another one of your dramatic moments. She asked us to come out so she could talk without feeling attacked. Mom also said I was selfish when I refused to host Thanksgiving during a pandemic, I replied. Her assessment of reality isn't exactly reliable. We're family, Lila insisted weakly. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It used to, I said. But family isn't just a word. It's behavior repeated over time. You behaved like enemies and assumed the title would protect you. It doesn't. You're being cruel, Marcus snapped. No, I answered. For the first time in my life, I'm being kind. To myself. The barista cleared her throat. Cops are on their way, she called out. Couple minutes out. Marcus flinched. You'd really let them arrest us? Lila whispered, genuine disbelief in her voice. You arrested yourself, I said softly. Every time you chose to hurt me and expected me to thank you for it. I picked up my laptop and slid it into my bag. You still love us, Lila said suddenly, desperation cracking through. I know you do. You forgave me for sneaking your car in high school. You forgave me for losing your bracelet. You forgave everything. I did, I agreed. I forgave so much I lost track of what I deserved. And now, she asked, voice small. Now, I said, I forgive you enough to let you live with the consequences of your own choices without cushioning the fall. That's what real forgiveness is, not letting someone do it again. Marcus took her arm. Come on, he muttered. This is pointless. They turned away as two officers stepped through the door. I gave my statement, explained the restraining orders, forwarded Alicia the incident number before I even finished my lukewarm latte. Walking back to my apartment, rain soaking the hem of my jeans, I realized something. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't replaying the conversation in my head, wondering if I'd gone too far or not far enough. I was steady. My phone buzzed. Caleb, the man from Tasha's gallery opening, the one who'd spent half an hour talking to me about light and shadow, like metaphors for healing, had texted, How's your Saturday, Elena? Still conquering marketing decks like a legend? I smiled, just confronted my ex and my ex-sister in a coffee shop and didn't cry. So I'd say I'm doing okay. 3 dots appeared. That sounds like a story I want to hear when you're ready to tell it. Proud of you, even without the details. Caleb was gentle like that, patient, present. He never pushed, never demanded more than I could give, never made my trauma about him. We'd been seeing each other slowly, coffee, walks, art shows. It was less a whirlwind romance and more a carefully tended fire. I didn't know exactly what we were yet. What mattered was that I could meet him as a whole person, not a broken half scrambling to be glued to someone else. That night, book club met at my place for the first time. The apartment glowed with warm lamps and scented candles. Plants lined the windowsill. The wall above my couch was covered in photographs. Tasha's art show, Nico's school fundraiser, Jordan asleep on my sofa after movie night, Noah grinning at a baseball game, the four of us on a weekend trip to the coast. My chosen family. To Elena, Tasha said, raising her wine glass, who told her toxic relatives to go kick rocks and then came home to people who actually deserve her. To Elena, they chorused. I shook my head, laughing, cheeks warm. I just stopped letting people treat me like a doormat. That's not just anything, Nico replied. Some people never manage it. Later, after everyone left and the dishwasher hummed in the background, I stepped onto my little balcony. The city sparkled. Somewhere, fireworks popped. Early celebrations for a holiday still weeks away. My phone buzzed again. Alicia. Restraining order extensions granted. 30 days in county jail each for violation. Extended no contact for 2 more years. You do not have to attend the hearing unless you want to. I typed, I don't. Thank you. For everything. Her reply came fast. You did the hard part. You chose yourself. Thanksgiving came. For the first time in my adult life, I didn't go to my mother's house. No carving turkey while Veronica criticized my cooking. No watching Lila bask in attention while I cleared plates and refilled glasses. Instead, I hosted. Jordan brought a slightly lopsided pumpkin pie. Tasha arrived with roasted vegetables that looked like artwork. Nico brought her partner and homemade mac and cheese that could probably end wars. Noah showed up after his shift with a dozen bakery rolls and stories from the ER. Caleb came last, carrying a bouquet of sunflowers and a bottle of wine. My tiny apartment buzzed with noise and warmth. People talked over each other, laughed, clinked glasses. At one point, I stepped back, leaning against the doorframe just watching. This, I realized, was family. Not the people who shared my blood, but the ones who showed up for me at my lowest, who celebrated my wins, who offered couches and rides, and an extra pair of hands when I moved or cried. After dinner, as the dishes soaked and the last of the pie disappeared, Tasha nudged me. Make a toast, she demanded. It's your house, your table, your story. I stood, heart thudding in my chest, but not the panicked thud of the conference room collapse, a sturdier beat. To this, I said, gesturing around, to the year I thought would break me but ended up rebuilding me instead, to leaving behind people who couldn't sit in a hospital room and finding people who will show up to assemble IKEA furniture at midnight, to being collapsed on the floor once and now standing on my own 2 feet. Glasses lifted, smiles shone, and, I added, meeting Caleb's eyes across the room, to knowing that if I ever fall again, it will be from dancing on tables, not from carrying everyone else's weight. They laughed, cheered, clinked glasses louder. That night, after everyone left and the apartment quieted, I stood in my bedroom, brushing my teeth, catching my own reflection in the mirror. I looked different. Not just thinner from stress or older from worry, lighter. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, from an unknown number. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm sorry for everything. I miss my sister. L. For a brief moment, my heart squeezed. Memories flickered. 2 little girls sharing secrets under blankets. Teenage sleepovers. Whispered plans about future apartments and jobs. Then reality reasserted itself. The messages, the photos, the lunch, the 8 months of deliberate betrayal. I opened the message thread, looked at the single line, then blocked the number. Dr. Rivera had once said, forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to let go completely. I wasn't angry. I wasn't vengeful. I was done. I crawled into bed and texted Caleb, thank you for today. It was everything I didn't know I needed. His reply came a minute later. You deserve days like this as your default, not your exception. Sleep. Dream good things. I'll call you tomorrow. I turned off the light. Outside, the city hummed softly. Inside, my chest felt calm. Once upon a time, I collapsed under the weight of a life built to benefit everyone but me. The doctors called my husband. They called my sister. They called my mother. None of them came. Instead, their absence became the loudest answer I'd ever been given. And in that terrible, hollow silence, I finally heard something else. My own voice saying, "Enough." From there, I chose myself. And that changed everything.